Hello everybody, it's Bruce Donald. I am the Southern New England manager for the East Coast Greenway Alliance, and I primarily have been working in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Central Massachusetts, and I will talk in depth about Connecticut and Rhode Island and just a little bit about Central Mass. New England, and this is all of it. I'm going to specifically talk obviously about Southern New England today. Connecticut, 53% complete. I'm going to talk about all of the projects in process. That totals 62% by about 2026. Rhode Island is currently 68% complete. I will talk about what's going on there. That's going to be almost 85%, a little more than that complete. And then Massachusetts, 45% complete right now. So, Connecticut. There's a lot going on, as you can see, a tremendous amount going on. I'm literally going to go through it fast, but something you should note that a lot of people don't know is going on. Off of our current route, the Brewster-Danbury connector, the Empire State Trail, which cost over $200 million, has been completed recently and goes now to Brewster through Westchester County from New York City. It's an important connector, and Danbury recently got a design, a good bit of money for the feasibility and design study to get from Danbury out to Brewster, New York, partly on an abandoned railroad corridor. So stay tuned for that. That's very interesting because there's trail in Southbury, there's trail going east directly across, and I think we have a good chance of potentially getting a connector there at some point. You will note that incomplete is the Merritt Parkway Trail going from Greenwich out through Milford. There's something interesting going on there, which is a brand new Fairfield County bike partnership with Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Bridgeport, Fairfield, and a couple of other towns coming in. That's a working group that meets at least once a month, and they've got a lot of interesting plans going on, so stay tuned for that. I'm just going to keep going up the trail. New Haven Phase 4 is close to done. That is an $11 million project going from Yale University down to the shore, in fact, in New Haven. And I'm really looking forward to that. Look for a ribbon cutting potentially late this year or maybe early in the spring, but that should be done. Going north, Southington was originally just going to be Phase 4. It's now going to be broken in half, Phase 4 and Phase 5. Phase 4 is going to go to bid this winter for construction next year. And then you see Plainville. Plainville is the last major gap in the whole of the East Coast Greenway, going all the way north up into Simsbury. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, you can see that Phase 1, which is Town Line Road in Southington, going north to Norton Park, is going to be in construction next year. It should go to bid this fall. Phase 2 for the year after, and Phase 3 for the year after that. It all could potentially spill over into 26, but it's funded, it's ready to go. Among other things, this Plainville, these phases in Plainville are part of a major federal grant of $16 million that was just received last month. So the money's there. We're really looking forward to that happening. As you go really to the north, you've got the Hartford Connector Gap Design, which is a $500,000 study sponsored by the Capital Region Council of Governments, which is the local, the Greater Hartford MPO. It is Terriffill to the north, Bloomfield as you go down, Hartford to the left of the river, and East Hartford to the right of the river. And this is extremely important because this is a year-and-a-half study that is going to dictate where the East Coast Greenway is going to be built. The remainder of it, those are all gaps in central Connecticut. So a huge study. continue going east. The remainder of the Hot River Trail, it's the last little piece in Andover, is in fact a large bridge. It's going to replace an existing rail bridge, and there is still some permitting to be done, but they're looking for construction to start in 24. It's a 2-year project because it's really quite a big bridge. The Airline State Park Trail in Putnam, so as you go up, that is in design as we speak. It's almost at 100% design. That's a little less than a mile, and in fact is the last piece of the Airline State Park Trail in Connecticut for the East Coast Greenway to be built. Going down, the Quinnebog River Trail in Killingly, Phase 4 and 5, design should be complete middle of next year, and we are in the process of looking for funds to build those pieces. And then big news, the Moosup Valley State Park Trail in Sterling, which connects to Rhode Island, 5.5 miles, is at 100% design, and my understanding from Connecticut DOT is that it's going to go to bid this winter for the start of construction next year, which is huge news. So I wanted to give you an idea of this connectivity going from New York. So this is Westchester County, and you can see White Plains there. You can see the big, thick blue line is the current on-road route of the East Coast Greenway. It is, obviously cobbled together. It's all signed. It's all passable. A lot of people use it every year, but it's not off-road route, the vast majority of it. Now, that green line you see there is what I was talking about. That's the Empire State Trail. That is complete, almost all complete. Going up to Brewster, and there you see Brewster right there. And there you see Danbury right there. And the Beacon line is in fact abandoned right into the Connecticut line, and then it kind of goes away a little bit. Parts of it have been sold off, parts of it have been reused, but that's that connector I was talking about that's so interesting and could have a dramatic effect on potential routing from New York to Connecticut in the future. Having said that, of course, we've got these routes down here. We've got the routes through White Plains, and we've got the Merritt Parkway Trail, which, as many of you know, it's 37.5 miles. None of it is currently built, although there was $1.5 million design study done about 6 years ago that by Connecticut DOT. So there is a plan for it. It's just that it hasn't happened. Here's Eastern Connecticut I was talking about, and we don't need to belabor this, but look at how much of this is done. So the Charter Oak is way to the left. There's a little jag there, if you can see it. That is Manchester. That is being completed this year as well. And then you've got the trail. So here's that bridge I was talking about over here next to Willimantic. That's still in Columbia. And then there's a little piece in Willimantic, and this is the very bottom of the airline that needs to be completed. And suddenly we've got an enormous amount of Connecticut done. On to Rhode Island. And I'm not going to talk too much about Rhode Island other than you see the Trestle Trail there. That connects to the Moosup Valley Trail, and that's important because suddenly you've got a finished trail sometime around 2025 that is going to bring you from Connecticut into Rhode Island through Coventry, all the way going to the Washington Secondary Trail, which also got funded for 2024. And the hope is that you've got a continuous trail from, well, essentially a little piece of gap that could be done on an old trolley right-of-way way inside Connecticut, beneath the Quinnebog River Trail, and all the way into East Providence, where there's just a couple of gaps. And then you're at the Blackstone River Bikeway, where there's a whole bunch of different projects going on north from Providence to the Massachusetts border. I wanted to throw it on as a slide because it gives you an idea of what Rhode Island DOT does. They're not doing enormous projects. They're doing teeny tiny little projects, and a lot of them. So you notice the Blackstone River Bikeway, notice the Wooney, and then the Washington Secondary, which is the kind of the bottom piece there. All of it is 12.6 miles. 12.6 miles. And that gets you sometime around 2025-26 to over 87% done in Rhode Island. And a little over $31 million currently. Some of those are unbid, so just be aware that that price point may change quite dramatically. Note Woonsocket to the north of Rhode Island. And then note that we've got two separate trail opportunities going north to the Mass Central Rail Trail. We are looking forward to working more heavily on the trail to the right through Framingham. And we're in the process now of talking with Massachusetts DOT about making that the primary trail, the spine trail, as we feel very strongly, along with Massachusetts DOT, that that corridor is the likely corridor that's going to be the easiest to build completely build out in the next 10 years or so. So you see Framingham there. That connects with the Bruce Freeman Trail, which goes north. It's just not on this map. But the Bruce Freeman Trail, of course, has a remarkable group of advocates and volunteers, and that's a bright spot. Framingham itself has got a bunch of projects in process right now as we speak. So we feel pretty strongly that that's the way to go in Massachusetts, and we will keep you updated on that. My favorite trails in the region, there's a lot of them. I would say, because I've been working on it for so long, I was reminded the other day, 22 years, on the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail. So I mentioned some projects on that trail. It is scheduled to be complete for us all the way through the Massachusetts border. In fact, all the way up to Westfield, Massachusetts, sometime around 2025, 2026. Certainly, that trail is interesting to me because it's a personal project for so long, but also because it's kind of unique in the sense that it goes through New Haven, so you're going through an urban setting. It then goes through a series of suburban towns, many of which have built restaurants, breweries, all sorts of fun things to do, literally right on the trail. And then as you get further north, basically kind of north of Avon, Farmington and Avon, you start to get into an area that's much more rural, and it's just fascinating, particularly this time of year. And as you go further north into Massachusetts, it really is rural, and you get a chance to look at some rolling farms and a couple of ponds and a lot of wildlife. Occasionally you'll see a bear, deer, blue herons in the swamps. It's just remarkable. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And then as you go toward Rhode Island, you've got a bunch of different opportunities, both on and off the East Coast Greenway. There's connectors, the Airline State Trail North, the Airline Trail South. As you go into eastern Connecticut, going into Rhode Island, you have to kind of bushwhack a little bit because some of the trail's not done, but the on-road route, of course, obviously is carefully signed and ready to go. So you can go on the on-road route and then get onto the existing pieces of off-road trail going into Providence. And that's another just stunning ride. So I would offer those for you. So thank you so much for joining us today. And it's my pleasure to tell you a little bit about the Southern New England area. And I really look forward to your questions. So fire away.